The Sunstone tribe had always known hardship. They lived where the desert met the mountains, a place of scorching days and freezing nights. But this year was different. The rains hadn't come for what felt like forever. The river that snaked through their valley, their lifeline, had shrunk to a muddy trickle. Anya watched her younger brother, Kai, cough, his ribs showing through his thin shirt. Their mother tried to hide her worry, but Anya saw it in the lines around her eyes. The crops had withered and died. The animals they hunted were gone, searching for water elsewhere. Every day, more people grew weak. The elders spoke of the Great Drought, a time of suffering that had happened generations ago. They feared history was repeating itself. The tribe's leader, Chieftain Rowan, Anya's father, called a meeting. Hope was fading. "We have tried everything," he said, his voice heavy with despair. "We ration what little water remains. We've sent hunters far and wide. Nothing." Anya knew what he wasn't saying. They were running out of time. Soon, the Sunstone tribe would face a terrible choice. Give up, or fight for survival. But how could they fight against the desert itself? Then, someone spoke a name that made everyone gasp, the Rock Clan. The Sunstone tribe and the Rock Clan had been enemies for as long as anyone could remember, fighting over land and resources. But the Rock Clan had a secret, a hidden spring, deep within their territory. Anya's heart pounded. Could they ask for help from their enemies? It seemed impossible. But what choice did they have? A murmur ran through the tribe as Chieftain Rowan spoke of sending an emissary to the Rock Clan. Many shook their heads. It was too dangerous. The Rock Clan were known for their fierceness and their hatred of outsiders. No one had crossed into their territory and lived to tell the tale in many years. Anya stepped forward. "I will go," she said, her voice clear and strong despite the fear knotting her stomach. Her father looked at her, his eyes filled with worry. "Anya, no. It's too risky. I can't lose you." "But father," Anya pleaded, "who else can go? The hunters are weak, and we need someone who can speak clearly and think quickly." She paused, then added, "Besides, they won't expect a young woman. Maybe that will give me an advantage." She knew it was a slim hope, but it was all she had. The thought of Kai, and all the other children, suffering pushed her forward. Chieftain Rowan hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Very well," he said. "But you must promise me you will be careful. Take what gifts we have left, some woven blankets and a few pieces of jewelry. Show them we come in peace." Anya promised. She knew the dangers were great. The journey alone was treacherous, filled with rocky paths and hidden dangers. And then there were the Rock Clan themselves. But she had to try. For her family, for her tribe, she would face any fear. She would leave at dawn. The sun was barely peeking over the horizon when Anya began her journey. She walked for hours, the rocky terrain testing her strength. Finally, she reached the border of Rock Clan territory, a narrow canyon guarded by towering cliffs. She saw them before they saw her. 2 Rock Clan warriors, their faces painted with streaks of black and red, emerged from behind the rocks. They were tall and muscular, their eyes hard and unforgiving. They carried spears, which they pointed directly at her. "Halt," one of them barked. "Who are you, and what do you want?" Anya held up her hands, showing she carried no weapons. "I am Anya, from the Sunstone tribe," she said, her voice steady despite her fear. "I come in peace." The warriors exchanged skeptical glances. "The Sunstone tribe? Here? That's impossible." They led her, bound and blindfolded, to their village, a cluster of stone dwellings built into the cliffs. The Rock Clan were a people as hard and unyielding as the rocks they lived among. Finally, they brought her before Kale, their leader. He sat on a throne carved from stone, his face stern and impassive. He was even more imposing than his warriors, with broad shoulders and piercing blue eyes that seemed to see right through her. "So," he said, his voice like gravel. "The Sunstone tribe sends a lamb to the slaughter? What trickery is this?" He looked at Anya with undisguised hostility. "Why should I not simply throw you off the cliff?" Anya met Kale's gaze, refusing to show fear. "I came here to offer you something," she said, her voice steady. "Not trickery, but a trade." Kale raised an eyebrow. "A trade? What could the Sunstone tribe possibly offer us?" "Knowledge," Anya replied. "We know things about this land that you do not. We know of a hidden spring, one even older than yours. It is deeper, more reliable. It could provide water for both our tribes, even in the driest seasons." The warriors around Kale shifted, murmuring amongst themselves. Kale remained impassive, but Anya saw a flicker of interest in his eyes. "And what do you want in return?" he asked, his voice still hard. "Food and resources," Anya said. "Enough to help my tribe survive this drought. We are not asking for charity, but for a fair exchange. We share our knowledge, you share your bounty." She paused, taking a deep breath. "Think about it, Kale. Two tribes, working together. We could both be stronger, safer. Or we can continue to fight and starve. The choice is yours." Kale studied her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. The silence in the stone chamber was thick and heavy. Finally, he spoke. "Tell me more about this spring," he demanded. Anya knew this was her chance. She had to convince him. The fate of her tribe depended on it. Anya spent the next hour describing the hidden spring in detail, its location, the path to it, the way the water flowed even in the driest seasons. Kale listened intently, asking sharp, probing questions. Finally, he stood. "I will agree to your deal," he said, his voice echoing in the chamber. "But under my conditions." Anya nodded, bracing herself. She knew it wouldn't be easy. "First," Kale said, "you will remain here, in our village, until we verify the spring's existence. You will be under constant guard. If you try to escape, or if we find you have lied about the spring, you will face the consequences. Second," he continued, "the amount of food and resources we provide will depend on the spring's yield. If it is as bountiful as you claim, your tribe will receive enough to survive. If not..." He let the sentence hang in the air. "Third," he said, his eyes fixed on Anya, "you will be responsible for guiding us to the spring. You will lead the way, and you will ensure that no harm comes to my people during the journey." Anya hesitated for a moment. The conditions were harsh, but she had no choice. The survival of her tribe was at stake. "I accept," she said, her voice firm. Kale nodded. "Good. Take her away," he ordered his guards. "See that she is given a place to sleep, but do not let her out of your sight." Anya was led away, her mind racing. The deal was struck, but the real challenge was just beginning. She was a prisoner, and she had to prove herself worthy of Kale's trust. The next morning, Anya was awakened by the harsh call of a guard. She was given simple clothes and a meager breakfast of dried meat. Soon after, Kale appeared. "We leave at first light tomorrow," he said. "Today, you will help us prepare. You will show us your knowledge of the desert." Anya worked alongside the Rock clan, helping them pack supplies, prepare water skins, and sharpen their weapons. She shared her knowledge of edible plants and signs of hidden water sources, impressing even the most skeptical warriors. She noticed Kale watching her, his expression thoughtful. That evening, as they sat around the fire, Kale approached Anya. "You are stronger than I expected," he admitted. "And more resourceful." Anya looked at him, surprised. "I do what I must to protect my people," she said. "We are not so different, you and I," Kale said. "We both carry the weight of our tribes on our shoulders." He spoke of the challenges he faced as a leader, protecting his people from enemies, ensuring they had enough to eat, and making difficult decisions that affected everyone. Anya listened, understanding his burdens. She realized that beneath his stern exterior, Kale was a good and honorable man, just like her father. Despite their tribe's long-standing rivalry, they shared the same values: loyalty, courage, and a deep love for their people. As they talked, Anya began to see Kale in a new light. He was no longer just the enemy leader, but a man she could respect. And perhaps, even befriend. The journey to the hidden spring began at dawn. Anya led the way, carefully navigating the treacherous terrain. Kale and his warriors followed closely, their eyes constantly scanning the horizon. On the second day, disaster struck. They were crossing a narrow canyon when a rockslide, triggered by a careless step from one of the warriors, blocked their path and damaged a crucial water pipe that ran along the canyon wall. Water gushed out, quickly draining their precious supply. Panic erupted. The warriors argued, blaming each other for the accident. Kale struggled to maintain order, but the situation was dire. Without water, they wouldn't be able to reach the spring. Anya stepped forward. "We need to fix the pipe," she said, her voice calm and steady. "And we need to do it quickly." Kale looked at her skeptically. "How?" "We don't have the tools, and the rock is too unstable." "I know a way," Anya said. "My tribe uses a special clay that hardens when heated. We can use it to seal the crack, but we need to work together." Reluctantly, Kale agreed. Anya directed the warriors, showing them how to gather the clay, build a fire, and carefully apply the sealant to the broken pipe. It was a difficult and dangerous task, but they worked as a team, each relying on the other's skills and strengths. Anya's knowledge of the land and the Rock clan's strength and discipline proved to be a powerful combination. Hours later, exhausted but triumphant, they watched as the flow of water slowed to a trickle and then stopped completely. The pipe was fixed. They had survived. The successful repair of the water pipe marked a turning point. The warriors, who had initially viewed Anya with suspicion and disdain, now looked at her with respect. They had seen her courage, her intelligence, and her unwavering determination. Kale, too, was deeply impressed. He had witnessed Anya's leadership and her ability to bring people together. He realized that she was not just a pawn in a desperate game, but a strong and capable leader in her own right. That night, as they sat around the fire, Kale spoke to Anya privately. "You saved us today," he said. "Without your knowledge, we would have been lost." Anya shrugged. "We worked together," she said. "We all played a part." "But it was your idea," Kale insisted. "And you kept us calm when everyone else was panicking." He paused, then added, "I misjudged you, Anya. I thought you were weak, desperate. But I see now that you are anything but." Anya met his gaze, her heart pounding. "And I misjudged you, Kale," she admitted. "I thought you were cruel and unyielding. But I see now that you are a fair and honorable leader." A small smile played on Kale's lips. "Perhaps," he said, "we can learn from each other." From that moment on, a bond of trust and respect formed between Anya and Kale. They began to rely on each other, sharing their thoughts and fears, and working together to overcome the challenges that lay ahead. The shared crisis had forged a connection that transcended their tribal differences. As the days passed, the journey became easier. The Rock clan trusted Anya's guidance, and Anya felt more comfortable in their company. Small acts of kindness began to blossom between her and Kale. One morning, Anya awoke to find a small bouquet of desert flowers placed beside her sleeping mat. Kale had gathered them himself, knowing she missed the familiar plants of her homeland. Another time, when Anya was shivering in the cold night air, Kale offered her his own thick cloak, even though he was clearly feeling the chill himself. Anya, in turn, showed Kale her appreciation in subtle ways. She would save him the choicest piece of dried meat, or share a funny story to lighten his mood when he seemed burdened by his responsibilities. She taught him some of the Sunstone tribe's songs and stories, and he, in return, shared the legends of the Rock clan. These small gestures spoke volumes. They were unspoken acknowledgments of their growing affection and respect for each other. They began to anticipate each other's needs, offering help and support without being asked. One evening, as they sat side by side watching the sunset, Anya felt a warmth spread through her chest. She realized that she was falling in love with Kale. It was a strange and unexpected feeling, given their tribe's history of animosity, but she couldn't deny the truth in her heart. And she suspected, from the way he looked at her, that he felt the same way. The unlikeliest of love stories was beginning to unfold in the heart of the desert. But their growing connection did not go unnoticed. The Rock clan warriors, fiercely loyal to their tribe, began to whisper amongst themselves. They saw Anya as an outsider, a Sunstone, and they distrusted her influence on Kale. "He's getting soft," one warrior muttered. "He's forgetting who we are, what we stand for." Another added, "She's bewitched him. She's using him to weaken us." Even some of Anya's own people, who had been sent as scouts to monitor her progress, expressed concern. They saw the way she looked at Kale, the way he looked at her, and they feared she was betraying her tribe. "Anya is forgetting her duty," one scout reported back to Chieftain Rowan. "She is becoming too close to the enemy. We must remind her where her loyalties lie." Chieftain Rowan, though grateful for the potential help from the Rock clan, was troubled by this news. He knew that love could be a powerful force, but it could also be a dangerous distraction. He worried that Anya's feelings for Kale could cloud her judgment and compromise the safety of the Sunstone tribe. The pressure mounted on Anya and Kale. They knew that their relationship was unconventional, even forbidden, and that many people disapproved. But they couldn't deny their feelings for each other. They would have to find a way to navigate this difficult situation, balancing their love with their responsibilities to their tribes. The path ahead was fraught with peril. Their fears were soon realized. As they neared the hidden spring, a band of raiders from the Shadow Clan, a ruthless group known for their brutality, attacked. They descended upon the group, their faces hidden behind masks, their weapons glinting in the sun. The raiders were after one thing, the water. They knew about the hidden spring and wanted it for themselves. They didn't care who they hurt or killed to get it. The Rock clan warriors fought bravely, but they were outnumbered. Anya, though not a warrior, fought alongside them, using her knowledge of the terrain to her advantage. She led some of the raiders into a narrow ravine, where they were easily captured. But the Shadow Clan was relentless. They pressed their attack, and soon, Kale found himself surrounded. One of the raiders raised his sword, ready to strike the final blow. Without thinking, Anya threw herself in front of Kale, shielding him from the attack. The sword struck her shoulder, and she cried out in pain. Kale, enraged, fought with renewed ferocity. He drove back the raiders, his eyes blazing with fury. Finally, with the help of his warriors, he managed to drive off the Shadow Clan. But the attack had taken its toll. Many were injured, and Anya's wound was severe. As Kale tended to her, he realized the depth of her sacrifice. She had risked her life to save him, proving her loyalty beyond any doubt. But had she also risked the deal, and the survival of both tribes? The attack had threatened everything they had worked for. The hidden spring, and their growing trust, were now in jeopardy. As Anya recovered, Kale made a difficult decision. He knew they couldn't continue the journey with so many injured. But he also knew they couldn't turn back. The Shadow Clan would be waiting. "We will send a message to both tribes," Kale announced. "We will tell them what has happened and ask for reinforcements. We will defend this spring, together." Some of the Rock clan warriors protested. "We can't trust the Sunstone tribe," one argued. "They will betray us." But Kale stood firm. "Anya risked her life for me," he said. "She has proven her loyalty. We will honor our agreement, and we will fight alongside her people." Anya, though weak, supported Kale's decision. "We must show the Shadow Clan that we are united," she said. "That we will not be intimidated." Messengers were sent to both tribes, carrying news of the attack and Kale's plea for help. Days later, reinforcements arrived. Warriors from both the Sunstone tribe and the Rock clan, united under a single banner, stood ready to defend the hidden spring. Chieftain Rowan, Anya's father, embraced his daughter, his eyes filled with relief and pride. He saw the love between Anya and Kale, and he understood that it was not a weakness, but a strength. It was a bond that could unite their tribes and bring them peace. Together, Anya and Kale prepared for the inevitable return of the Shadow Clan. They knew the fight would be difficult, but they were ready. They would defend each other, and their tribes, to the very end. Their love had become a symbol of hope in a desperate world. The battle against the Shadow Clan was fierce and long. But fighting side by side, the Sunstone and Rock clan warriors proved to be an unstoppable force. They defended the spring with courage and determination, driving back the raiders and securing their water supply. After the battle, Anya and Kale addressed their tribes. They spoke of the importance of unity, of putting aside old rivalries for the sake of long-term survival. "We have seen what we can accomplish when we work together," Anya said, her voice strong and clear. "We have proven that we are stronger together than we are apart." Kale added, "The drought will continue, and there will be other challenges ahead. We must learn to share our resources, to support each other, and to build a future where both our tribes can thrive." Their words resonated with the warriors. They had witnessed the power of cooperation on the battlefield, and they knew that Anya and Kale spoke the truth. Slowly, grudgingly, they began to accept the idea of putting aside their old hatreds. Chieftain Rowan and the elders of both tribes held a council. They discussed the terms of a lasting peace, agreeing to share the water from both springs and to trade resources fairly. They established a system of communication and cooperation, ensuring that any future threats would be met with a united front. It wasn't easy. There were still moments of tension and distrust. But Anya and Kale worked tirelessly to bridge the gaps, reminding their people of their shared goals and their common humanity. They showed them that love and understanding could conquer even the deepest divisions. In the years that followed, Anya and Kale's love story became a legend, told around campfires and passed down through generations. Their relationship, once a source of conflict and suspicion, transformed into a powerful symbol of hope and unity. Children from both tribes played together, learning each other's customs and languages. They grew up knowing that they were not enemies, but allies, bound together by a shared history and a common destiny. Anya and Kale married, their wedding a celebration of peace and harmony. Warriors from both tribes stood side by side, guarding the ceremony and offering their blessings. It was a day that no one would ever forget. They ruled their tribes together, wisely and justly. They made decisions that benefited both communities, always striving to create a better future for their people. They taught them the importance of compassion, forgiveness, and understanding. They faced many challenges, including droughts, storms, and conflicts with other tribes. But they always overcame them, thanks to their unwavering commitment to each other and their belief in the power of unity. Anya and Kale's love had not only saved their tribes from starvation, but it had also transformed them into something greater than they could ever have imagined. They had created a new world, where differences were celebrated, and where love could conquer all. Their story proved that even in the darkest of times, hope could blossom in the unlikeliest of places. And so, the Sunstone and Rock clan tribes thrived. The desert still held its challenges, but they faced them together, sharing their knowledge, their resources, and their unwavering support for one another. The hidden springs continued to provide life-giving water, nourishing their crops and sustaining their people. The children grew strong and healthy, learning the lessons of their ancestors and building a brighter future. Anya and Kale grew old together, their love deepening with each passing year. They watched with pride as their children and grandchildren carried on their legacy of peace and unity. They knew that their story would continue to inspire generations to come. On clear nights, when the stars shone brightly in the desert sky, people would gather around the campfires and tell the tale of Anya, the brave young woman who had dared to cross into enemy territory, seeking help for her tribe. They would tell of Kale, the honorable leader who had opened his heart to an outsider, forging a bond that had changed everything. They would tell of the love that had blossomed in the unlikeliest of places, transforming two warring tribes into a single, united community. And they would remember that even in the face of despair, hope can always be found, as long as people are willing to open their hearts and work together. The desert, once a symbol of hardship and division, now bloomed with the promise of a shared and prosperous future, all thanks to Anya's bravery and the unexpected love she found. Their story became a timeless testament to the power of courage, compassion, and the enduring strength of the human heart.